Despite faithful adherence to the current IMF program and an improvement in our overall fiscal management, Jamaica is still not experiencing any appreciable growth. In fact, we've seen declines in GDP, and we are also experiencing an increase in poverty, though marginal. It says that we're still missing something in our overall economic management. And perhaps one of those things that we're not doing effectively is properly prioritizing our capital budget. So today I want to look at one of these items that we've recently passed a bill through the House of Representatives to do with the National Identification System. It was rushed through ostensibly to meet a deadline of the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB. That is the agency which is going to lend Jamaica $8 billion. Lend in US, but the equivalent of about 8 billion Jamaican dollars to fund the system. The benefits are unclear. They're in sort of general terms. In principle, it's a good idea to have one reliable identification system for the entire population. But the question was asked, which other country, which other Western-style parliamentary democracy has such a system? Well, two recent examples could be found. The first was the United Kingdom, where after many years and a relatively expensive attempt to introduce it, they abandoned their system. The second is in India, a more recent rollout, and which is now coming under many challenges in the Indian Supreme Court on the basis of privacy issues, other constitutional rights issues, entitlement to benefits for the poor, etc. And this is going to be any sort of compulsory universal system of registration is going to raise these challenges in our democratic governments. Now there's an earlier example. About 10 years ago or so, or even more, we hosted the Cricket World Cup. The Caribbean hosted the Cricket World Cup. In many ways, this is a case study in how not to do public investment, and has some parallels to the national identification system. In the case of the Cricket World Cup, the heads committed to hosting the event without fully understanding what costs were involved. The benefits were fuzzy, unclear, but they were sold, certainly in the case of Jamaica, as being the legacy benefits of the publicity we would have got, which would have boosted tourism and investment. So the Jamaica Tourist Board and JAMPRO were two of the agencies that were supposed to coordinate the legacy benefits. In reality, what happened was, because of a premature and incorrect announcement by then Deputy Commissioner Mark Shields that Bob Woolmer had been murdered. Bob Woolmer was the Pakistani coach of their World Cup team at the Pegasus Hotel. All this publicity that we were looking forward to, all the positive publicity, essentially backfired. And if anything, we only got negative publicity. So we were left with the debts of the infrastructure that we had put in at Sabina Park and at Greenfield in Trelawney without really having any legacy benefits. Returning now to the NIDS. We're embarking upon what looks at the beginning like an 8 billion expenditure, but as we know in public sector projects, these usually escalate. And the benefits are not clear. Hopefully, this will not go the same way as the UK project. If even we felt that it was so important to introduce a national ID system, wouldn't it have been much more cost effective to modify or adapt the database held by the Electoral Commission, which already has photographs and fingerprints for 2/3 of the population of Jamaica. It would have been much easier to use that administrative infrastructure to expand to a national identification system. And if there were concerns about commitments being made long ago when the Electoral Commission, or the EAC as it was at the time, established this database, we could have passed similar legislation, either making it compulsory, or if not making it compulsory, then we could have given an opt-out to current enrollees in the Electoral Commission of Jamaica's ID system. This would have been much more efficient, a fraction of the cost, and achieved the same outcome. When will we learn from past mistakes and stop making suboptimal public investment decisions?